welcome to the hall.
Today we are joined by our new National Grange president, Chris Hamp. Chris is a member of Tualco and 5 Mile Prairie Granges in Washington, which we'll be talking about today.
Woo woo, Washington!
Woohoo!
As the lone East Coaster in this podcast right now, I feel outnumbered.
Yeah.
So, Chris, welcome. Thank you for joining us
Thanks.
today.
Yeah, great to be here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's for full disclosure, I'm just going to say now, we are recording this at the very end of our National Grange convention.
Yep.
We are closed. Everything is done. It is 10:45 at night, so this might get a little loopy.
And if we look a little overdressed, it's because we just came from Evening of Excellence.
So, Chris, we're going to start. Tell us a little bit about your history in the Grange and your Grange's history.
Sure. Well, my history in the Grange started from the beginning, right? Well, my parents were very active, my grandparents were very active, my great-grandparents were active, and all at the same Grange, Tualco Grange, number 284 in Monroe, right so outside of Monroe in the Tualco Valley. That's the same valley that I picked raspberries in as a kid and made my first $1 million was out picking raspberries, right? Just within
the wrong profession, I believe.
Right? But within view of the Grange Hall. I mean, the Grange
That's cool.
Hall
That's really
and wonderful farmland all around it, dairy farms, berry farms.
Now, is your family farmers? Is
Yes,
that, okay.
I grew up on a dairy farm.
On a dairy farm, okay.
I have known Chris for 10 years and did not know that.
Okay.
Really?
No. I've read your bio 100
never read
times
my
too.
bio.
I really have.
He's probably written the bio.
Yeah,
Let's be
so-
honest.
No, grew up on a small dairy farm, 30-some head of Holsteins, and had that idyllic growing up of both parents being home, 160 acres to roam, and horses and cows and those things that you can't trade for anything. Is that experience of really super. I grew up on the Ben Howard Road. Ben Howard Road is a county road, 35 miles an hour, but it's one of those roads where as you drive up it, you know every single occupant when you were growing up,
Yeah.
and you knew who lived there, and you knew who lived there, their parents before or grandparents before them, and it was that village. It was that, there was gatherings where it was. And people were interested in what you were doing, and you didn't realize it at the time, but they were mentoring, right? They wanted you to be successful. They were competitive. They, go Bearcats, and so everybody also went to the same high school, right? So there's generations of people that wore the orange and black and go Bearcats, and they were all Grange members at Tualco, and we grew up with a Grange softball team, and I can remember Don Steffen bringing us together, and we're all here to have fun, but we're gonna win this.
That's
thing,
exactly.
right?
I was like, let's do a softball tournament.
Yeah.
We should do a softball tournament.
Well, we used to have them. We used to have state Grange softball.
There were.
tournaments.
I've heard rumors that was before my time.
Yeah. So there
I love
was.
softball.
I can tell.
But lots of that, just awesome stuff going on,
No.
right?
I love that idea of not only was your community like you were together in the area, you all knew one another, but then you also all worked together in the Grange.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was that like to have every one of your neighbors a part of your Grange too? Like,
it seemed like that's the way it was. I mean,
Okay.
when you grow up with that, you don't know what you don't know, and so that was just natural. It was natural that all of these people that were my parents' age, or more so my grandparents' age, were not only super good friends, but they worked together on the school board and at the Grange and at the fair and to make the parade happen, and so all of these things were. Everybody's got a part of, and they're involved in it,
cool.
and it just seemed that's what you did. That's all I did.
So I have just a point of interest for myself. You're a member of 2 Granges.
I am. So
Can I ask why?
yeah, because Tualco is what I would refer to as my home Grange. I mean,
Okay.
that's the one in my hometown. That's
Okay.
the Grange that I grew up in. I mean, literally
Mhm.
crawling around on the floor as a kiddo. That's where I was a member of Tualco Junior Grange.
Okay.
And 5 generations now of my family have been members there.
Okay.
So I'm not ever going to leave my membership there
Mhm.
because I mean that's here, right? 5 Mile Prairie is what I would call my adopted Grange. That's my affiliate membership, and that's in Spokane. So when Dwayne and I hooked up and I moved to Spokane because he's a Spokane boy, we joined 5 Mile Prairie because the Grange that Dwayne grew up in had closed.
Got it.
So he was searching for another Grange to demit from, or to demit to, and so we joined 5 Mile together, me as an affiliate, and that's his regular Grange. That's the only Grange he belongs to is 5 Mile.
And for the non-Grangers out there, can we explain the difference between an affiliate Grange?
Would you like me to jump on this
I
as the
would
resident
like-
historian?
Absolutely, because I don't understand. I mean,
Well, it's the dues in Washington State.
Yes.
I mean, since that's where we're
yeah,
at.
let's talk about the nuts and bolts.
So
'cause I
the
just don't understand.
the dues are the same.
Right.
I pay the same amount to belong to Tualco, or at least the amount that goes to
Mhm.
state and national as I do to 5 Mile,
Right.
right? And there's not a discount or a half off or something like that
Right.
because it's a second Grange. And the intent was, right, that maybe that affiliate Grange was one that you joined to help them out.
Right.
But then I kind of like the fact that it gives you another one in my situation. You move.
Mhm.
Maybe, your job or life takes you out of state, takes you across the state, and you want that home Grange, you have that connection.
Right.
You have that long-standing connection,
Mhm.
but you want to belong to a Grange and participate when you move to
And you-
wherever that might
Yeah.
be. And so that's what I'm using it for, is to
Yeah.
be active where we live.
And that
So-
makes complete sense. It's just someone like me who joined the Grange,
Yeah.
a year ago, And so to me, it's like, why would you make the choice to be a member?
I did the
I know
same
you
thing.
are
Yeah,
also
yeah,
a
yeah.
member of 2 Granges, so I just didn't understand why the choice was, but that makes perfect sense. You're talking about like hometown, versus
Where my family is, where my people
absolutely.
are.
And not that I want to compare the Grange to church, but if you think about it, you have you can always think about
Your home congregation.
people have a home
yeah.
congregation. When they go home, they
Right.
attend, they know those people, they grew up there, whatever the case might be. And then, in your case, obviously you don't live there anymore, and so you want another place where you can have that fellowship regularly, and that makes
Where
sense.
my Granges are only, an hour apart from each other, a little over
So
an
you're
hour.
just double dipping, is that what you're saying?
No, it's double the work.
Yeah, that's
Like-
Well, it's not, it's the opposite. It's
That's
double
true, that's true.
double the
Double the
dues,
commitment.
double the
Yes, I guess,
dues,
I
double
And
the.
I will say, full disclosure, that I have a lifetime membership in Pennsylvania in one of my Granges, so I
Yeah.
only pay dues one more time a year. My
Mhm.
lifetime dues are
Sure.
done; those are paid for
Yeah.
my home Grange, so I only pay dues once. So I still feel like that's my commitment in
Absolutely.
ensuring my financial commitment to the Grange.
Right.
And I happened to join Eagle Grange 1 as my affiliate because, it was struggling and it needed some more help. And
Right.
I hadn't intended to join an affiliate when I moved and just keep my home Grange because I've been going back and forth. But
Sure.
it needed it, and
Right.
somehow I'm president.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
No, that's good.
Well, and before we started recording, we were talking about the fact that you guys have an upcoming event, and I'm assuming we're talking in 5 Mile Grange, the one that you live next to. So tell us about what's going on at 5 Mile Grange right now.
So 5 Mile Grange right now, if you drove by, it's a mess because we're doing a project right now that we have been saving and scrimping and fundraising for almost 4 years.
Okay.
And that is to put new siding on the Grange Hall. So the siding was bad. I mean, we needed to replace it. The paint was falling off of it, and so we decided we were going to save $25,000 and do this siding project, and we've done that. And this is a pretty small Grange. I mean, we have, bigger than some, smaller than a lot. We're right in that 40 to 50 number wise, right?
Right.
Up and down here and there. But we've raised it, and
Yeah. I was gonna say, when you say save, You mean fundraise. You don't mean like you guys are saving back money for
Right.
dues or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
no,
You're
no, no, no. We're
fundraising.
fundraising,
Yeah,
and we rent the hall a lot.
yeah. Oh,
I mean,
yes,
we're right on
I forget about that for
the
some
edge
reason.
of
Something you can do.
right on the edge of the city of Spokane, and
Right.
so I mean, literally the county city line is on the street in front of our Grange Hall.
Okay.
So we're right there. I mean, we used to be rural. Now we're suburban,
Yeah, that's
pushing
very much like my Grange.
pushing urban.
My
Yep.
Grange is, you could throw something and hit, Tacoma, the city of Tacoma. So yeah, I
Right.
completely understand.
And we can throw something and hit now 3 schools.
Yeah.
I mean, so it used to be all apple orchards up there. In fact, our Grange on the foundation, it's a 1913 building per the foundation, and it used to be an apple packing shed.
Wow.
And so people would bring their apples on the horses and buggies or the horses and wagons, and both of the sides that are now framed in and enclosed. One side is the entry and the storeroom, and the other side is the 2 bathrooms, the stage, and the back door. So those used to be external, like loading docks where the apples would come off, and then the inside of the hall, of course, was the inside of it. But so we're getting new siding.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny, our hall is sunny yellow. That's the color of our paint, and we have this huge double 4x8 sheet of plywood on the diagonal quilt block on
It's
one end
gorgeous.
of it, and it's really awesome. And so we took the quilt block down the other day because we had to get it out of the way. And so it's now in one of our members' garages that lives literally around the corner.
Right.
So it's perfect. So that's like the central place where we're gathering to freshen up the quilt block as long as it's off the building, right? And it's just a hoot because people go over there when they can, and we'll leave a note, hey, it's time to do the yellow color, it's time to do the blue color, and we've got all the tape and the paint and the paint brushes. And then we're getting phone calls and things on Facebook about, why isn't it yellow? It's like, guys, it's just the primer color on the siding. Wait till we
It's
get
like a beige right now.
Yeah, it's
like-
just ugly.
People are concerned that you're changing the
Yeah.
external color. That is
Yeah, they're like,
fabulous.
we don't
Yeah.
like
This
we
is
don't
the-
like the color, you know.
Yeah.
This is a moment of Grange branding, where people don't think about their hall as a brand of their Grange sometimes.
Right.
It's not-
Listen to this. When we go and do dictionaries, first question is.
Wait. You guys still do dictionaries?
Oh yeah, they love the dictionaries.
That's so funny because the school told. Okay, this is
So
a
let me
whole
tell-
other- it's a whole other side because the school told us that the kids don't use them anymore.
No, they use them. Listen to this. In Washington State, and I don't know.
Well, I'm in Washington State
I
too.
know, well, I know you are, but I'm just saying the teachers are telling us. I don't have a kiddo in school, but the teachers are telling us that in order to take the state tests,
They have to have dictionary.
they can't use anything electronic. They can't use their watch,
Right.
they can't use their phone, they can't use a tablet or anything. They can use a dictionary.
Interesting.
And so they're teaching these kids how to use a dictionary. They can use those as a tool as they take their state tests.
You give them a combined dictionary thesaurus.
We do not.
Oh, okay.
We like the
traditional-
just the regular
okay.
traditional dictionary, and we brought a selection of them from one of these conventions. I
Mhm,
got the little
mhm.
starter pack and brought it in, and the teacher said, this is the one we think we like, and so that's the one we
Very
got.
cool.
Okay, awesome.
But
Awesome.
they still do like them because we
That's
asked that
awesome.
question a few years ago. We're
Yeah.
like, is this still okay? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, we love the dictionaries.
Well, I will
So
I will name our school district
Yeah.
on a podcast, but I can't. Yeah, they told us the kids aren't going to use them, so we're not
Yeah,
going to.
no.
For the listeners who may not know, that the National Grange has had a long-standing partnership with the Dictionary Project,
Yeah.
Yeah.
where you
Words
give
for thirds.
Words
And
for
words for
thirds.
thirds,
Yeah,
yes.
words for thirds.
where you give your Grange's sponsored dictionaries for third-grade classrooms.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
A dictionary in every child's hand.
Yeah.
So Granges kind of adopt a class or a full school or
Yeah.
a full school district.
Yes.
And ensure that they're taken care of. And I
Yeah.
think that's a great way to get the Grange name out there, especially if you're able to slap a little label inside,
That's
donated by 5 Mile Prairie Grange.
Yep.
That's right.
You know,
Yep, at the meeting, we meet on Monday night. So tomorrow all day is a travel day back to Washington
Mhm.
State.
Yes, it is.
Monday night is Grange, and one of the things on our to-do list is to get the dictionaries ordered
Hey.
for this year. I think we need 13 dozen dictionaries
That's
in order
fabulous.
to cover the 2 schools.
That's math. Remember, we don't
You
do
don't
math.
do math.
But that, you buy them by the dozen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah.
know.
Or it's 2 dozen per box, I guess, so maybe I'm gonna have to get 14 dozen, but,
It's a starter for next year.
anyway.
So anyhow, you were saying that when you go to do the dictionaries,
The first question that's asked, thank you for
Yeah,
bringing
sorry,
me
bring
back
it-
Yes,
to the
thank you.
point.
I'm glad you're.
That rabbit hole. The question we ask is, where's the Grange Hall? You know, how do you, and those kids know. They know
That's
it
good.
is the yellow building with the quilt block on
Oh, that's so cool.
at the roundabout, and that's where we're at. And because they've come to pancakes with Santa,
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
they've come to pancakes with the Easter Bunny,
Right.
because we figured out early on if they'll come for Santa,
They'll come for the Easter
they'll
Bunny.
come for the Easter Bunny.
Well, I
It's-
think that's an important thing, because I think that's something that we're learning now in my newly revitalized Grange, is that the way to reach the community is through the kids, because we're right across the street from elementary
Yeah.
school. And so
Yeah.
I think that it's a great lesson to hear for a lot of Granges that sometimes putting on events and doing things that are more family centric is
Mhm.
what's going to really bring people.
Yep.
And maybe not everyone's going to be a member, of course, right?
Right.
But just to have awareness in the community
Yep.
for your Grange.
Yep.
And I think it's an intelligent way to utilize a building
Yeah.
that's within a good,
And
a
I
radius
happen
of
to
schools.
know that Chris, your Grange has adopted a mission statement
Mhm.
focusing on families and kids.
Right.
And what
Don't
has
ask me
that
to-
done?
Don't ask me to repeat it.
No, I won't. Because I was honestly sitting here trying to think of it because I've read it before.
Yeah.
But what has that done for you? Like, what to put your Grange's focus specifically on families and kids? What has that done for your Grange?
Yeah, what's that done for our Grange is that it's brought those folks into our active membership,
Mhm.
and folks like to be involved with folks that look like them
Mhm.
and that act like them and that have the same issues and the same concerns and as them, and so it's been great. I mean, because we use that mission statement on the wall to kind of double check all of our stuff. Is this meeting our mission?
Good.
Mm.
Is this event? And the other thing that we decided long ago, back in 2005, when we kind of got revitalized, we never did actually ever close, but
Right.
they were close to that, right?
Yes.
And it was kind of one of those, hey kids, here's the checkbook. I think there's $42 in it,
Oh.
and here's the $220 power bill. Have fun with this.
Mm.
And we have.
Yeah.
We have had fun with
Yeah.
it, because you have to have fun with it,
Oh.
right? But we decided that you have to have just some signature events
Right.
that you are
Yes.
known for.
This is my view. This is my plan. This is my plan.
Then
If we do the same thing
Yeah.
every year.
And then that you do them well,
Yeah.
and you don't burn your folks out. If you try to do something every darn weekend,
No,
Oh,
no,
God.
no.
you're
Ooh.
struggling, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because there's Granges, I know, that try to put a
Absolutely.
pancake breakfast on every month of the summer because
Mhm.
they
Right.
want to do them with peaches and cherries and apples and berries and their poor people are just like barely
by
hanging
the
on.
fourth weekend of it, then
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pancakes with the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
Obviously, at Easter, Saturday of Easter weekend.
Yeah.
We do pancakes with Santa. That's our first and best loved event. And then we do something called Pie Night.
What
Yeah.
is pie
I do.
night? You know what pie
I-
night is?
I've heard of Pie Night. I
Okay.
want to get to Spokane for Pie Night.
Pie Night is amazing. So Pie Night is a table like this where, you've got.
We're sitting at a long table. Just
You've
so
got
people in podcast world know.
we got the board table here.
Yeah.
This is Power Central, but we've got this huge table, and you've got it covered with little plates of pie, a piece of pie on them, right? And then we also do cookies, because sometimes the younger kiddos would rather have a cookie than a
Absolutely.
piece of pie. And the pies are all donated, and we kind of advertise that, hey, if you're testing out a new recipe or you want to try something, and some of it's not pie, we'll take a good berry cobbler
Oh,
or
okay,
something,
okay.
scoop it on.
Or a cake? Will you take a cake?
Yeah, we'll do cake.
Oh,
but,
okay,
but
okay.
mostly it's pie.
Pie.
I mean,
Okay,
it's,
okay.
it's pie night. It's not cake night, it's pie night. And we do it on, guess what? 3.14.
March the 14th is pi. 3.1415.
Oh, 3.14. I'm like, again, not a math person. Sorry.
So this year it was on 3.14, or as close to that as we can make it
that's
work.
Awesome.
But it's
Cute.
so when we first started, the Grange Hall hadn't been opened in years. They hadn't been renting it, and they hadn't been having any social community activities. So they had been meeting, barely turning the heat on, meeting and doing this around the card table kind of a thing. And then so when we got there and started saying we've got to bring folks in, they got to know what the Grange does. We started with this pie night, free pie, coffee, come meet your neighbors, no planned speeches or agenda.
Right.
But we invited a bunch of partners like the fire district and emergency management and the school district and the folks that were working on a new road plan and all of that to set up little tables and have info and just be there for folks to mingle with and interact with. And then we invite our elected officials. We invite the sheriff and we invite the police chief because we're right on that border and our community is both. We invited the principal and we invited the fire chief, and so they're just mingling.
Yeah.
And the city council member that's repped up there and congresswoman and they just wander around and eat pie and chit chat or get
Well, it's a good networking opportunity.
but there's no speeches. There's no
Right.
microphone.
Yeah,
so a lot of people aren't comfortable asking questions in front of everybody,
Right.
but they'll go chat with you as you're trying to eat your pie, right? And
Some pie in peace.
but the first year, this was literally how it works. We have the main door and we have the back door, and in between we had the table of pie. They'd come in the front door, they'd go, swoop, grab a piece of pie and whoop, out the back door. And that was pretty much the first year. Not really exaggerating that much on how it went.
Sure.
But there was literally nobody ever sat at the tables. And now you can't kick them out. You cannot kick them out. I mean, folks come at the beginning and they're there at the end. I mean, it's a 6 to 8 affair. And at 8:30, we're finally pushing the broom around them at 8:30, going,
okay,
time to go.
So, but it's interesting that I think so many Granges would see that first time as a failure.
Yeah.
Even they're like, well, nobody stayed, nobody came. But if people, for me, it's a success if people came into the doors of your hall, were there for even a minute, and left. That is a successful event. You got somebody in who might not have had a touch point with your Grange before.
I don't know why. And some of our members thought that, and so we had this conversation, and I don't know why it's different or why I see things this way, but I can put myself in the public shoes, and I think if we do that, and you take a real look in the mirror at what the public saw. Let's talk about what the public saw. And so we looked around our hall, and this was pre-2010, and 2010 is a benchmark year for 5 Mile Grange because that's when we totally redid the interior. Because it looked crummy. It was dingy, and it was she was a mess. I mean, she needed a new dress, right? And
I know that feeling.
Yeah, and so
thanks.
And so we did this in 2010, but before that, so we looked around and we're like, when was the last time we had a public event here? We didn't know. We didn't know how long ago it was.
Wow.
So the fact that we had people actually come, was good, and the pie was excellent. Yeah. Right.
And
so we had these good points to build from.
I look at that from the perspective of how do you gauge or collect feedback from the community for what's some of the reason for coming in? Do you think potentially morbid curiosity of what the heck is this building?
Yeah, what's in it?
Yeah,
what's in it? What do they do there?
Well, I just think
and then they leave with a good piece of pie. Come on!
But who's in charge? I mean, did we look like we came out of some whatever you want to think about? But no, I mean, we were like regular people. We were their neighbors and their friends and their coworkers, and we're in the same community, and we're looking for the same things. We're looking for a safe community that provides, good schools and places to recreate and all these things that these young families need and want, and how do we partner with the school? And so even though we didn't have maybe a lot of folks coming through to chit chat and meet each other, we got to have these more one-on-one conversations with the people that came because nobody else was there to talk to them, right? So
be like, hi, thank you for being our captive audience for the moment.
Take advantage of what you've got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I do love that it's evolved into such a community night now, though.
Right.
Like, that's a big thing that I think is replicable too.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I think the idea, and I think it's a good idea because it's one that I think that we have tried to adopt at my Grange as well. It's like you don't try and do too much, especially too soon. And it's one of those things that like people come up with the good ideas left, right, and center. But
I
it's
literally
like
just came up with one that I'm stealing from this, but
they come up with good ideas, but it's like until you have more people or more time or whatever you have, you can't implement absolutely everything. Like it's fun, people get excited. I mean, and I think Phil and I have talked about this. It's like you see membership roles, people come on and they get really involved really quick, and then they burn out, right? And then they leave, and it's like, so how do we? And this is kind of like a future state question, and obviously as our national leader, like it's something I'm sure you've thought about. How do we do better as a volunteer organization? Really, let's talk about like the reality of what the Grange is. How do we do better at not burning out membership, and how, as Grange members, as Grange leaders, when we see people that want to join us, allowing them to join and do the things that they want to do and not overtax them? Like, what's your suggestion here?
Well, I mean, that's a lot of stuff right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was 12 questions in one.
No, but I mean, I think it's important that you get to know your folks, right? I mean, you get to know those that want to go 20 miles an hour, and they can go 20 miles an hour forever, right? You've got some that can go 50 miles an hour for a long time, and you got some that just want little short bursts of 100 miles an hour, but you're not going to get that for a consistent long period of time. So, and then you play to their strengths. You play to what they want, and this is this lead into this whole concept of value, of how do you value your membership, and how do you make sure that you're providing value to your members. We often forget that we're so involved in providing for the community, that we've got to get this event, we've got to do this, we've got to make things to give away, we've got to raise money to give away, we've got to do all these things that we're forgetting about taking care of us. And so it's kind of the, I had this conversation with Jeff Winton with Rural Minds the other day about self-care. Yeah,
Jeff Winton is the founder of Rural Minds, which is a partner of the Grange, just for everyone to know.
Yeah, so easy things to look up and see the great work that organization is doing. But Jeff and I were talking about putting something together for self-care, for our leadership, right? Is how do you, we talk about how you identify in others, but how do you identify with yourself? So that's kind of the same, kind of got off track, but it's kind of the same with our membership. Is identifying what it is that that resonates with these folks and that they want to do. Do they want to sit in the back row and just take it in and kind of grow that way for a while, and then all of a sudden you start to see their hand go up, right? Versus the ones that are up front going, pick me, pick me, pick me. And we've got both of those, and we need both of those, but you got to realize which one's which,
right?
And how you do that, and you've also got to realize if you're going to take somebody oh look, here's fresh meat, let's put them right up here in front. That you've got.
Let's make them our communications manager, or our lecturer,
or president, or secretary. Gosh,
God.
But how do you help them? How do you mentor them? How do you make sure that they're learning what needs to be done in a manner that's not, kind of an abusive relationship, right? Where it's like, well, what do you mean you didn't do this? Or you've got to realize that they don't know what they don't know.
There's a lot of institutional knowledge in the Grange that doesn't get passed
And
on.
we-
I
and we
think,
make
from leader to leader. You know?
Yeah, and we make assumptions. We make
Yeah.
assumptions that people should automatically know this stuff where there's no reason that they would ever
Right.
know this
Until you're
stuff.
introduced to something.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, and I think that the big thing is, and you know, this is something we will, I'm sure, talk about a lot here, is that when you have grown up in the Grange, as both of you have, it is like you said, this is what you do, because this is what you've known
Yeah.
growing up. And someone like me coming in brand new and having no idea and hearing words and hearing things and you're like, well, what does this all mean? And how am I supposed to know this?
It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in, and if there's not people in your Grange that can mentor you, like if you are in, you know, you come into maybe a Grange that might be on or was on its way out, no longer, thankfully, you know, my Grange, but you know, that there's not really those around that have the capacity to mentor the new leaders. So, you know, there's a huge learning curve, and I think that what you said is true. Is like you just have as a leader within the national or the state or even Pomona, you have to allow people to be human, right, and make mistakes and not know what they don't know.
Lord knows we've all made some this week.
Yeah.
So
Well, you know, and the other part is, I mean, it's the two-way thing. New member needs to, and maybe they don't know. So, and maybe I'm kind of going around that is the wrong way to talk about it. But the old established member has, you know, their grandparents milled the lumber that built the hall,
Yes.
and it's the sweat equity, and so it's difficult for them to, you know, for you to pry their fingers off of this thing and let somebody else drive the car.
Yes.
yeah.
And so, but they need to realize that these new folks, these new members,
Right.
are here with all the right intentions.
Yeah.
They want the same opportunities. They want the same growth opportunities. They want the same mentoring and the same experiences
Yeah.
that these other folks all had. And so I think if you could have that conversation early on,
Yeah.
and you could say, look, I just want to get some of what you've had the opportunity to have, and they realize that, you know, and they're like, I just want you to, you know, love and take care of this place, and they're like, well, yeah, that's all, you know, you're both talking the same thing. You're just.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the Grange is when that works and that symbiotic relationship works between your old established members and your young whippersnappers. You know, when you're all in it for the same cause. And so some of the best moments that I have had in Grange are actually when, you know, I was a 14 or 15-year-old working alongside a 60 or 70-year-old, like on the same projects, doing the same things, and realizing that you're in it together.
Yep.
It's not a soul journey. You're not on it for yourself. You're in it for the community,
Yep.
or you're in it for who you're serving. And I think it's important for both sides to see the others doing the same thing.
Right.
I feel like people in my generation sometimes feel stuck that we're not being listened to by the establishment. But at the same time, I can see how the establishment could feel like people my age and younger are pushing for change or change for change's sake, or they don't understand the way. And hopefully that we can come to some kind of natural working, I don't know what word I want there, but a working relationship, to say, like, we're all in this together. Let's all take a step back and breathe and realize that none of us are wrong, and we're all working for the same end goal.
And I think that segues perfectly into let's talk about the Grange of the
Yeah.
future. Because I think that is what has me doing what I'm doing within the Grange now, is because I've entered this organization and I've seen some good and some bad already, and I think that there is such potential for the Grange to be an amazing force moving forward into the future. So, I mean, I know we're like 48 hours in now. Like, I mean, it's been no time at all. But tell me what the plan is. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to tell me what the plan is. But I just think that I want to talk about where you see the Grange in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years. Like, where do you think we're going as an organization?
Well, I mean, I think we need we need to set the stage that we've got to decide that we're gonna do this together. That we've got to get everybody rowing in the same direction in the boat.
Yes.
And you know, and one of the frustrations in for any leader in anything is when you've got folks that have I don't know what I want to say, vision or wants outside of from the group, right? That
Right.
are more of an individual need than what the group needs. And
Right.
and it's, you know, it's bringing all those cats together, and once they're pulling in the same direction, watch out, right? I mean,
Right.
I've said that for years. We could get everybody pulling together, and so but you've got to make it fun, and it's got to be something that people want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, and so when you come to a national convention like we're at right now, and you build that excitement, and everybody starts feeding off of that, and you know, sitting at the table this evening for our banquet with some outside guests that aren't Grange members, are like, wow, this is incredible. I mean, the energy in the room, everybody's buzzing. There's lots of young folks here with us this week.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is awesome. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, it is awesome. And folks start to, you know, when they feel that buzz, everybody wants to be a part of something, of a winner.
Yeah.
They want to be part of something that's doing things and growing, and they want to be just pushed and challenged a bit. I think everybody does. I think everybody wants to get better, and they want to have value for that membership, but they want to go someplace where they know that it's safe and it's fun, and they're going to bring something home, and their kids are going to be have good role models, and all of those things. I think we do in spades, right? I mean, that's what Grange is, and that's what Grange has been, and that's where Grange is going to excel into the future. And the same with the civic discourse piece. You know, sitting at the lunch table with the assemblyman here from New York the other day, and he asked me, he goes, what can we do for you? And I said, well, I mean, not talking policy issues. I said the first thing that comes to mind is you can be good role models for how politicians and elected public officials can work together, can resolve differences, and can have civil discourse. And the civil discourse piece is something that, I mean, kids copy that, just like they copy behavior from professional athletes, that because they see it.
Right.
I mean, that
Well, it's
the
also
only
their
reason
homes,
you
right?
do it is because you've seen
Yeah.
somebody else. And so if they saw the state assembly or the city council or Congress behaving in a manner,
Right.
then that's how they're going to behave,
Absolutely.
right? And so then we got into this discussion about civil discourse and that whole piece of it. And he's like, yeah, because you're right. It's time to put away the excuses of, you know, this party or that party doesn't want to talk or doesn't want to get together and to be the one that offers the olive branch, so to speak.
Yeah.
But back to the Grange piece, I mean, I think we need to do some strategic planning. We need to figure out what those 5, 10, 15, 20-year benchmarks look like, and then we need to set goals. I think planning without goal setting is an incomplete process,
Yeah.
because you don't know when you get there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important that we set some goals and that we figure out some benchmarks of how to get there. And everybody wants to be, I mean, I'm a list maker. I make a list every day. I make a list. Just so I can cross stuff off.
Yeah.
And then I know.
Make a list.
Yeah. Well, if that's what it takes
If that's
to
what
get
it takes
number
to
one
feel-
crossed
yeah.
off, right. But you do. You making progress.
Mm-hmm.
You like
Mm-hmm.
accomplishing things.
Yes.
And that's the thing with Grange is you get to do that. You get to accomplish things with other people.
Right.
And I think that's a key is those friendships and those things that you develop over time. That I mean, I've watched ladies and men in kitchens that have literally stood elbow to elbow in those two sinks and washed and rinsed the same, ceramic coffee mugs for 50 years. Literally. I mean, that's the case. And there is an order. And if you show up to help and you try to get into Betty's spot,
I'm that person, unfortunately, at my Grange. At the Grange where I am president, I am the one who doesn't have a spot because I am a relatively new member of that Grange. It just happens that I was elected due to a weird series of circumstances. But I'm the weird guy in the kitchen who doesn't have an established spot, unless we're making mashed potatoes and then that is my spot. But
the mashed potatoes.
it's because I can pick up the potato pots.
Oh,
that's really the only
got
reason.
it.
yeah.
Fruit string.
But I'm always like, I'll be at the sink and Libby, who's a wonderful member, she's been there a long time, will be like, oh, that's my, I was going to do the dishes. It's like, okay, I'll step out. And then I'll go to help, cut up the cabbage for coleslaw. And people are like, no, we got this. I'm like, I'll just call me when you need me, But that's what we need, I think, more of though, is
But I think what I'm hearing is, and just to take away from this, is you're talking about ownership. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about people who find ownership and have ownership, and they're bought in to the Grange because they're the person that washes the dishes and stands at the sink, and they have a job, and they like that, and they like the fact that they can go and be with their friends, and all that kind of thing. And
I have a woman at my Grange who, she's our kitchen cleaner. Mm-hmm. That's her role in our Grange. She doesn't really like being around a lot of people at once, and that's fine. So her value to our Grange and what she sees as her value is after we do one of our dinners, our takeout dinners, she will come the next day and clean the Grange hall top to bottom until the whole place smells like pine sol, and I love it. I walked in within an hour of her having left the other week, and the floor was still a little wet, and I was like, Katie's been here. And it was just this wonderful moment of I appreciate the members who sacrifice their time for the good of the order and for nothing that they don't really gain anything personal out of it other than they are giving back.
Yeah.
And I think I would like to see more of us leaders in the Grange encouraging the common man to do what they do to make us all better.
Absolutely. And I think take ownership. I think that's the thing. And what I've learned this week is that there is some disconnect in between what's going on locally and what's going on nationally, and that there's a lot of amazing things going on at the National Grange, and that there's just a disconnect in whether that's, I don't know why. I'm not going to.
It's my fault.
Well, it's not their fault. But the reality is that those messages aren't trickling down in the way that they should be because people don't know about what's going on, and vice versa. And so then there's no buy-in, right? There's no buy-in at the national level for somebody at their local Grange because they're like, oh, I don't know what they're doing, and I don't really understand it when stuff comes out. I don't understand why. I don't feel the why behind it. But I think that that's something, hopefully, that we can work more on, especially as we move along, as we continue to record this podcast, and talking to people, and just learning more, and having an open discourse about it. It's not secret, right? It's not secret. That's what I'm just it's not a secret society at all. What we're doing is very open, and I
was really disappointed. I went to Barnes & Noble a couple weeks ago, and I picked up a book that was America's 50 Top Secret Societies.
And we weren't in it?
No.
Gosh.
Grange is no longer a secret society. We have been booted out of the book, which I love. I was disappointed because I was like, oh, maybe we're in it's one of those kind of books, but to pick it up and be we're not.
Yeah.
We're not a secret society.
No.
We are open to our communities to make them better.
Yeah. So, anyway, any more thoughts about future state of Grange, or what you?
No, I think the future's bright. The fun part is
the sunglasses.
That's right.
You do. And that phrase has been used, but I think people are ready to take that next step, right? I think you get you get that excitement every time there's a change in leadership because it's a new day and there's a little bit of angst maybe about what's going to happen or is it going to push me out of my comfort zone and you know what a comfort zone is, right? It's that place where nothing grows. Nothing grows in a comfort zone. So you've got to get pushed out of that comfort zone to grow. And some folks are, maybe they think they're past that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as adults, we're not expected to set goals anymore. Nobody asks us what we want to do, what we want to be.
Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Meagan, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be Chris. Maybe.
Chris, what do you want to be when you grow up?
You know, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, 40 years ago, I wanted to be the President of the United States.
Well, you're close.
I was like, I'm going to say you basically are.
I was going to be the first U.S., the first female President of the United States.
Yeah, see, I want to be Chris when I grow up.
But, yeah, good question. I need to work on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will work on that. I'm not positive.
Phil, what do you want to be when you grow up? We're going around the table.
Yeah.
I was going to leave myself out of this. I want to be a good role model.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know how, I don't know, have any specifics on that, but I want to be somebody who my niece and nephews can look up to and say, Uncle Phil was a good person. And I want to be somebody who the kids that I've worked with as state junior director can remember in the future and be like, I loved what he did for us.
Yeah.
Or even the kids that I've seen around here. But I also want to be a role model for the people older than me.
Yeah.
I want to be setting an example of how we can be not just good Grangers, but good community members and good people with good hearts.
Yeah.
Do I always do everything right? No. But I feel like I always have the best of intentions behind it.
The right reasons.
And I think when I get things wrong, I own up to it as well. And I apologize and I say tomorrow, okay, I'm a Grey's Anatomy nerd. But there's an episode where Dr. Bailey becomes chief of Grey Sloan, and her first day, everything goes wrong. It doesn't go according to her vision, things are not right, but then at the end of the day, she steps in front of all of the doctors that she works with, and she goes, tomorrow I will be better.
Yeah.
And that's what I personally, this isn't about me, sorry,
No,
I took this somewhere, but tomorrow I will be better, and every day that's kind of my mantra.
But I think that's important stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and you and I both have to make sure the nephews think that we're awesome because they're going to be the ones picking our nursing home at some point.
Basically, my nephews sure will be.
I was like, I guess I feel that way about my children. I want to be somebody, and I'm raising boys, and so for me too, as a strong female, I want to make sure that my boys are very comfortable being around strong women, and that's my goal, and I want them to see hard work pays off, and that sort of thing. So I definitely.
I am the weak one at this table, I think, with the two of you here. So.
No, it's but no, I'm excited. I'm excited for this opportunity. I'm excited to get. You're going to hear the word collaboration a whole bunch in the next couple of years, right? As we collaborate together and bring more folks into the fold of who we're working with and where we're going and what we're trying to do and I think that's a snowball. As soon as we can. We're right there, ready to push it up over the top, and then stand back because it's just going to build momentum on its own. I think as we do,
but
we do that,
you can't push it yourself.
No,
you all have to work together.
None of us can push it by ourselves. Right. So that's the thing. It's there is no I in Grange.
Another one.
Didn't Richard say that
I think
too?
Richard said the same thing. Yeah.
No.
Heard that before.
Well, I didn't take it from Richard. I
No,
just
of course not.
I mean, it's interesting that it's a theme. It seems to be a theme.
But it is. I mean, it takes a village, and I think Grange was what they were talking about when they talked about that village.
Well, and originally, isn't that why the Grange was formed in the first place? Because they needed each other. They couldn't do it on their own.
Right.
On their own. They needed each other. Yes.
Yeah.
It is late.
Well, and you build strength. I don't know. I mean, there's just 1,000 things, and of course, you've got all of these just swirling around, and
Right.
they're like this,
Oh yeah.
like this herd of bats trying to find the right spot to perch up there.
So
But it's it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, and I tell you, I mean, opportunity to talk with leaders from all across the country the last 48 hours,
Yeah.
like you said, and every single person they're excited. They're ready. Let me know what you need. How can I
That's
help?
great.
Give me a call. Do this, do that, and oh yeah, you can rest assured that I will be right.
At 6 a.m. Pacific time.
Well,
More
if you
than
call
once
me-
my phone has rang before 9 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Chris, what are you doing awake?
Chris likes to work early in the morning.
I
It's
appreciate
great.
Well, I get some calls from friends on the East Coast that forget that I'm on the West
West
Coast.
Yes, I try. Really
And so I'm like going, I could call you at 9 o'clock at night, my time,
Yeah.
kind of play this your way too. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But,
Well, Chris, I really like that we started talking about the village of Tualco and how you had your little village Grange, and ending with the idea that it takes a village
Yes.
to make the Grange successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
thank you for being with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today,
I really appreciate your
whatever-
time,
Yeah,
and
it's been fun.
we're excited about what the next few
Yeah.
years
I am
is
too.
gonna look like.
I am
So,
too. Let's
It's gonna be
go.
great.
Let's go rock it.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you next time at the hall. The Grange Hall Podcast is a production of the National Grange, all rights reserved. If you have comments or questions, or if you'd like to recommend a member of your Grange to be featured, you can contact us at grangehallpod@gmail.com.